I took the graveyard shift at the diner on Route 46 because it was the only place still hiring after midnight, and nobody fought you for the coffee pot. The sign outside blinked open like a bad promise. Truckers pulled in, filled a booth for 20 minutes, then vanished down the highway with their headlights stitched to the dark. People in town said the diner had been rebuilt twice after accidents. The counter glass never quite lost the cracks. My second week, a man came in and sat at the end stool that wobbles if you breathe too hard. He unfolded a paper map like it was the last one left in the world. His hands shook the way hands do after driving too far. He asked for coffee, then said my name without looking up. He shouldn't have known my name. My tag was turned around, the magnet broken. I poured anyway, and told myself the regulars talk. The diner sits at a fork where 46 meets a field road that goes nowhere. The neon is 2 colors short of complete. A jukebox near the bathrooms plays on its own if you bump the wall, but the songs are always half a minute from the end. Chrome trim peels at the corners like old tape. Behind the counter, there's a short hallway to the office, then a back door that sticks when humidity climbs. The freezer hums hard enough to make the salt shakers creep. Shelley, the day manager, gave me a spiral notebook and said, "Write down anything that looks fresh. Night is when fresh damage happens." She circled rules with a pink pen. Keep the pie case shut. Don't let hitchhikers loiter. If a car idles for more than 15 minutes and no one comes in, call it in. She added a line that wasn't printed. If the jukebox plays a song nobody picked, unplug it. She said this like it should be normal. On the wall behind the register, 3 Polaroids share a nail. Each shows the diner from the parking lot at night. In the first, a smear of light crosses the door like a meteor. In the second, the lights inside look too bright, shadows stretching wrong under the stools. In the third, the vestibule glass is black like a hole. Someone wrote different dates on the white borders. The middle one has a thumbprint pressed into it before the ink dried. The print matches none of ours. Most customers are noise more than people. They come in with the highway on them, the rushing sound stuck in their ears. Order eggs, watch the empty lot like it will confess something, then go. But every few nights around 3 a.m., the bell over the door rings and no one is there. The air cools just a notch. The clock above the milkshake machine loses a minute. That's when I refill coffee like it matters and pretend I didn't hear the bell. The man with the paper map returned a week later. Same stool, same steady shake, same way of not looking me in the eye. He traced Route 46 with a finger, then tapped the fork by our lot. He asked if the field road was open. I told him it wasn't a road anymore, just gravel and weeds. He said he took it once by mistake and never reached a fence or a gate. Only darkness that kept his headlights. He said he turned the wheel left until the car remembered pavement. He asked if we had lemon pie that wasn't from yesterday. I told him everything here is from yesterday. He smiled like that was the answer he wanted. Then he folded his map along a crease that hadn't been there and left cash on the counter, exact down to the cent. He said, "I'll be back if the road lets me." When the door swung shut behind him, the bell didn't ring. The air stayed cool an extra second, and the clock above the shakes lost another minute. Tuesday nights, truckers bring wind. You feel it hit the diner before the rigs appear, like the building flinches. This Tuesday, the wind came, but the highway stayed empty. The jukebox clicked. A song started in the last chorus, a voice too clean for that battered speaker. Shelley's pink pen rule flashed in my head. I unplugged the jukebox and the song kept going, thinner like it came from the vents. The napkin holders rattled in time with a drum that wasn't there. A sedan idled in the lot facing the door, lights off, engine ticking every few seconds like it tried to decide. It stayed 15 minutes, then 20, then 30. I stepped out into air that smelled like rain without clouds. The driver window rolled down about an inch. A woman's voice asked if this was the turn for the field road. I told her the field road doesn't go anywhere. She said that's fine. We don't either. The window rolled up on its own, and the car eased backward without white lights. At 2:57 a.m., the office phone rang one time. No caller ID, no log. The line clicked open and stayed quiet. I heard a chewing sound the way tape makes if you peel it slowly. I set the receiver down without hanging up because that's what you do when you don't want anyone to feel you leave. The coffee machine burped a dark bubble. The pie case fogged inside the glass. Lemon meringue slumped as if someone breathed on it from very close. When I looked toward the far booth by the window, a couple sat there, hands folded, faces pale like they were seen through water. Their plates were the wrong plates, smaller, floral, not the diner's heavy white stoneware. They each had a slice of lemon pie that matched the old Polaroids. I blinked and the booth was empty again, the vinyl seat cool like someone had just stood. A fork mark dented the pie on display. I shut the case and locked the latch. The bell rang again at 3:13. The map man walked in and took the end stool. He said, "You kept it turning." I asked what, and he nodded at the clock. It had skipped ahead 2 minutes. He placed the folded map between us. The paper was damp, the ink swollen. He said there's a place in the fork that eats time, and the diner is a tooth it leaves behind. He said if the jukebox is singing when no one pays for it, the road is hungry. He asked me to hold the map flat while he smoothed a crease that wasn't the one from last week. The map showed Route 46 and a faint pencil line marking the field road. That line turned gray and then lighter, like fog printed on paper. Where the road should have met the horizon, the pencil line broke into dashes, then dots, then nothing. He pointed at the end of nothing and said, "This is where cars go when people say they just drove for a while." He said he had followed the dashes once. He said he passed our diner 3 times without turning, always from the angle of that end booth, like the building rotated instead of the road. The lights over the grill dimmed. The coffee machine exhaled steam without heat. In the window, I could see the lot empty, except for a black shape that looked like a shadow cast by a car that wasn't parked. It stretched toward the door. The jukebox clicked on with its plug on the floor beside it. The same clean voice reached the last 30 seconds of a song. The bell rang without the door moving. Somewhere in the back, the freezer motor stopped humming and did not start again. He said the hungry part of the fork likes names. It likes them said out loud by someone who thinks they're safe. He said a waitress gave it hers once trying to be polite when a driver asked the way. He said you can tell who fed the fork by how they stop visiting. He pushed the map toward me and asked for my name. The question felt routine, customer service small talk. My mouth opened by habit. The song on the jukebox swelled like the room leaned closer. I closed my jaw hard enough to bite my tongue. Blood salt hit the air. I said, "Night shift." I said, "Counter." I said, "Coffee." Any word that wasn't the one the room wanted. He smiled without looking relieved. He said, "Good." He slid the map back to his side and traced the pencil dashes with a fingertip like he was counting them. The jukebox reached the last line and held the note too long, then stopped as if the needle fell through the record into a hole. The freezer kicked back on with a stutter. The black shadow outside snapped into the shape of a compact car reversing, lights finally showing. It backed toward the highway without turning its wheel and found the pavement like it had always been there. The clock above the shakes ticked forward the minutes it had lost, fast, then settled. The bell over the door did not ring when he stood up from the stool. He left exact change again and told me to keep the map until it faded. He said I'd know what to do if it didn't. I locked the jukebox plug with tape and wrote a note in Shelley's spiral. If it plays on its own, do not speak names. Do not give directions to the field road, even if asked 3 times. If the bell rings and no one comes in, cover the pie case and watch the lot until you feel present again. I drew a small fork at the corner of the page and shaded the tines in. On my way to the office, the Polaroids tilted on their nail. The middle one looked brighter. The smear on the first looked like it had turned, the angle different, as if the light tried again. I took them down and slid them into an envelope with the map. When I opened the office safe to store it, the inner wall smelled like rain and hot chrome, the scent of highway in summer. I shut the safe and spun the dial, even though it didn't lock anymore. At dawn, the rigs returned. Truckers shook off the night like dogs shake off water. They talked quick, paid quick, and avoided the end stool. One of them asked if the field road was still washed out. I said it always had been. He said good, and left a tip too big for eggs and toast. I wiped the counter with slow circles until the laminate looked dull and clean. The office phone never rang again that morning. If you ever work nights at a diner where two roads pretend to meet, don't give the place something it can keep. Don't say your name when the jukebox sings without money. Don't unfold maps for people who never look you in the eye. And if a car asks for the field road with its windows closed, tell it the kitchen is out of pie and watch how long it waits. I keep the map in a thick plastic sleeve under the register. The pencil dashes are lighter each week. When they vanish, I will unplug the sign and let open go dark. Maybe the fork will forget us. Maybe it only eats what answers it back. Subscribe for more original horror stories.